Councilmember Pam Howard that she'll lead us in the pledge.
Join me please in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together to do the business of the city. Thank you for all of the employees that we have in the city. Thank you for our first responders. We oftentimes don't remember to give them enough thanks for the amount of work that they do. Please be with us as we go through this meeting, and that we always do the things we are doing to your honor and to the honor and glory of our citizens. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Council, we have an opportunity to review the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of June 7th.
Second.
Okay. Motion in a couple of seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we'll take citizens' comments on agenda items. Is there anyone here to address the council this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These items are considered very routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion, unless a council member or a citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda includes items E3 and E4. Would anyone like these taken separately for any reason?
Second.
Thank you. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Linda, you'll read proposed ordinance 6393 for us, please.
An ordinance by the City Council of the City of Sherman relating to Greater Texoma Utility Authority Contract Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2021, City of Sherman Project, approving the issuance thereof and approving the refunding of certain outstanding bonds of the authority, finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes, a couple months ago, Drew Satterwhite notified us of a refinancing opportunity on some of our Greater Texoma Utility Authority bonds, and Gary Kimball with Specialized Public Finance is here to tell us about the results of the refinance.
Thank you, Mary, members of the council. For the record, Gary Kimball with Specialized Public Finance. Good evening. You should have a copy of our refunding summary in front of you, and very pleased to report that we locked in rates about 2 weeks ago that more than cut the existing interest rate in half on just over $7.3 million worth of outstanding Greater Texoma Utility Authority debt. So these are bonds that require the city's utility system to make a contract payment to Greater Texoma in respect to financing for water and wastewater facilities that were previously constructed. These bonds were originally issued back in 2011, 12, and 13, and become callable August 1st of this year. That's what makes them able to be refinanced under IRS rules. We have to wait until we get within 90 days of the call date on those previously issued bonds. This cleans up all of the available refunding candidates that you would have with Greater Texoma, but we were able to bring the interest rate down from an average coupon of 3.66% down to 1.33%. So if you'll follow that pricing column in the bottom box down, we issued just over $6.3 million worth of bonds. If you look at that net debt service reduction, we will reduce the outstanding payments on those bonds by over $975,000. You'll realize that savings over a 17-year period, just over $74,000 a year, and the net present value of that cash flow stream is over $880,000, or 11.9% of the face amount of the bonds that we refinanced. In our world, anything over 3% present value savings is considered in the money, so this is almost 4 times in the money. So it's a very favorable deal for the city. We beat all of our budget metrics, which are there on that budget column, and are very pleased with the results and would be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you for the same.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, we keep an eye on these things and spotted it a couple of months ago, but the first available opportunity to close it is July the 8th. And so we are able to price about a month ahead of time and lock in rates, which is what we did about 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Good job, Gary.
All right, is there anyone here to address this item this evening? If not, we'll close the public hearing and consider the adoption of ordinance. Council, questions, discussion?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good job. Thank you, Mr. Kimball. All right, we're to resolution number, proposed resolution 6746. Linda, if you read that for us, please.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman awarding a bid to and authorizing execution of a contract with Lynn Vessels Construction LLC based on an invitation to bid for construction of Moore Street from West Travis Street to Heritage Parkway. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Wayne? Evening.
Evening, Mayor, Council. So this is an award to Lynn Vessels Construction for the construction of Moore Street between West Travis and Heritage Parkway. Also includes a detention pond with the construction. A little less than 2 years ago, the estimate for this work was about $2.5 million. This bid came in at 2.7. So a few months ago, with some recent cost estimates, we realized the construction was exceeding the original estimates. So we did some value engineering with the developer and their engineer, made changes to the street grades so there wasn't so much earthwork. We took some items out of the bid as base bid, like the sidewalk, water lines, as well as the sewer line crossings. We took those out of the base bid, made them alternates in the event that the bids came in under the 2.5, that we could maybe add some of those back in. Which that didn't happen. We have about a little less than 2.6 million is being funded with CIP bond funds. 119,000 of this is being funded with funds we received from Sherman ISD, the Drainage Detention Fund, to help pay for some of the detention bond. Also related to this item is the next resolution number. It's a discretionary service agreement, Encore Electric Delivery. There's some utility poles out there that have to be relocated that are in conflict with the project, and that comes out to about $73,000.
Wayne. Council? Discussion, questions on 6746 or 6747?
We're calling this phase one, is that correct? I didn't see, I've seen the phase map somewhere. What's the estimated cost on the two phases north of this?
It's in the neighborhood of $5 million, I think.
For two
both of
lanes.
them?
For 2 lanes.
7.5 total for all more.
So 2.5, yeah, more.
Yeah.
7.5 additional.
More.
MORE.
Well, my question is this, are we calling this phase one? And we've seen a layout of phase 2 and 3, which is going to the north. So you're saying phase,
I mean, this one's the one that's the only remaining phase that has actually been engineered is this one. And the others are just.
we don't have an engineer's estimate on the north.
No, not yet. I mean, we have kind of one of these just based on today's pricing for projects like this. And the recently completed Moore, what really was truly phase one of Moore, which was from West Travis to Park, just the 2 lanes there. Our budget for this, when we built this, our internal engineer's estimate for this a year plus ago was 2.5 million. And I don't know if you guys remember during the budget workshop, the graph that we showed just construction costs over the last 12 to 18 months just being, considerably higher. So, the
fact that this came in at net to us 2.6 versus 2.5 a year, plus ago, I was a little surprised actually.
Yeah, but you're talking about taking things out of it that were in it at that price.
Oh, for sure,
too,
just
I'm
to
not
get it
too
to that
surprised.
point.
And are
Well-
we gonna have to put those things back in?
Yes.
Are we gonna get a change order eventually?
Well, it won't
I'm
be,
sure we are.
it won't be a change order for this project. The scope of this project is what we're presenting today, but, one other kind of data point that I think was meaningful. So, we had several bids on this project, one of which was, Zachary, HB Zachary, which is the one doing both highway projects. They're here, already have the equipment here and mobilized, and they were noticeably higher than Lynn Vessel's bid, which tells me that Lynn Vessels continues to bid things at, very competitive, rates for us. So, I mean, to me, the bids were what they needed to be. They were probably lower than I would have otherwise expected. I mean, if, mobilization is a significant cost of a lot of these projects, and so the fact that they were noticeably lower on that than what we got from the others was a good sign that we got good bids.
Billy, I would think your phases are gonna be bringing those things back that we had to leave out to get a bid at this cost.
Well, and what I'm thinking too is, I know that, this was what we put out the bid, and this is the first project in line of phase one, but, all the development is happening, on the other side of Travis, and there's planned homes going in there, and I know this would be kind of taking it out of the proposed order, but I would be curious to know, one, if that wouldn't be more effective to start on that side, but also number two, could we get a better price if we knew that we were planning to do this phase two in next year's budget, if we took a phased approach and got it priced out for the entire project?
I mean, if you look at the bid tabs for the other bids, so we've got 2.7 million, as it's been scaled down, right? 2.7 million, the next closest, 3.3 million rounded, the one right after that, 3.4 million rounded, the other one, 3.7. I mean, we've got great pricing on this, in my opinion. Now, understand, hey, we've got, the Grove coming in on the north side, and we are continuing to develop Moore Street sequentially there by the Grove as well. So to me, this isn't should we do this one or the other one? To me, we should do both of them. And in fact, what I'm calling phase 4, which is north of the Grove all the way to Center Street, we should be doing the engineering and right-of-way for that one. And this is all what we presented and talked about at the budget workshop. But to me, we're just working our way south to north and got great bids on this. That is, to me, a bird in the hand. We should take the bird in the hand and continue with I'll call it phase 3, which is north of Park Street, and then immediately after that, phase 4.
So besides this is through a PD, but is there anything on the table as far as shovel-ready projects, push through, are we moving dirt, are we doing anything between Travis and 14th Avenue?
There's none, nothing that has come to the city on that.
And then it's safe to say we have several projects north of there that are, they're moving.
Yeah, literally moving dirt on it.
Yeah, we're improving more at present, right? Didn't we vote?
We're voting on the south.
I know, but I thought we had addressed the north parts of Moore previously.
So we're currently doing engineering or seeking engineering services.
Right.
Right.
Phase 3.
Negotiations, so those
We got that in motion.
Yeah, those are all in
Bring that to a
motion.
future council meeting.
Well, I agree. I think as long as we're fast tracking that process, then we can go ahead. I don't see any reason to stop on this, only because we have such a favorable proposal to put in.
I mean, to me, I see this similar to what we did on West Travis and phased it, right? We had some stuff going on the westernmost by the high school. We had some stuff going on the easternmost by Crossroads. And then we needed to complete that, so we had phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 kind of done, even though there's not really anything going on phases 2 and 3 right now, although it's a connection point. So I just see this as another project that is a connection between 14, 17, and Center Street that we're phasing, just like we did West Travis. Slightly different order, but the same concept of, hey, let's get, while there is activity going on in this sector, let's just get it, as quickly as we can on each of those, because we're gonna need it, by the time we get it all built, we're gonna need it all.
And it will help relieve some of the traffic at Heritage and Travis from people coming from the south and east.
What are the items, Wayne, that we took out for VE purposes as alternates?
We were hoping to put in sidewalk along with the street. We use that as an add alternate. We were hoping to go ahead and put in a water line with this project. So that was put in as an add alternate. There were 3 or 4 sewer line crossings underneath, proposed more that we put in as add alternates, and developer requested a fountain feature to be in the retention pond, and that was an add alternate.
If we're gonna do a concrete street, would it make sense to do the crossings now? We would have to either bore them or cut our street, right?
Well, I mean, right, they'll need to bore them in the future.
Well, if we're getting a good price on this road, would it make sense to go back and just do those crossings and do the water line now?
I mean,
I understand the sidewalk can wait.
Yeah, I mean, his lens price on the adults were proportionately lower than any of the others as well. So I could say, well, yeah, we got a great price from Lynn all the way around. We were just trying to get as close to that 2.5 budgetary number that we had kind of built in. And the things that we took out, we don't absolutely need today. So we can add in some, all, or none of what was peeled out from the value engineering standpoint. But what I would say is what we're asking for today is what we would need to do the basic amount of getting the street in, doing the dirt work and everything that goes along with that, and the drainage that needs to be done as part of that. And the things that were peeled away or things that can wait for some point in the future.
I wonder if we might be money ahead by going ahead and doing some of the cross street items, only because number one, we have a good price on them. Number two, later, if we have to bore it, it's gonna add that cost plus, we'll have an increase in price just due to rising costs all the way around.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the different adults and gate valves, and those seem to be mostly water related, and those are going to be outside of the back of the curb anyway, right?
Yes.
So the things we're peeling out aren't things that we are going to have to go and cut a new street up for. Right? We're going to be doing the grading for the entire width, I'm guessing. Right? Getting all that done, and then foregoing basically the water side of the shop is mostly the other thing. The sidewalk and the water lines and the things that relate to the water line are probably 90% of that we peeled away, and those will be outside the back of the curb anyway. So we shouldn't have to be going and jackhammering and saw cutting our new street.
Well, and that was my concern. What I didn't want to do is end up in a situation 5 years from now when this area
is fully
developed and think, why didn't we do that?
No, I agree with that. And to me, we let the developer or somebody else the pond aeration of 17 grand, that's just a water feature. Will be nice once it's done, but it doesn't need to be done today. The drainage needs to be done, but that doesn't need to be done today. So to me, we would leave essentially everything out that would otherwise cause us to have to, either bore or cut the street. And I think that's essentially all of this, what would be $592,000. So I think this 2.7 that we're asking for, and then net it down by 100 and whatever to get us down to the 2.6 is a good, it's a good place to start.
Is this the last of the Sherman ISD's contribution to any, this
Yeah.
will be it for their contribution for any projects in that area?
Right.
Well,
And that's money in the bank, by the way. I mean, they've already written the check, and we've been holding it pending this drainage issue and getting the street put in.
I understand the importance of this road. And I said something not soon enough, because this one was already far down the road. I just think we like to use the term "a road to nowhere." And we've got significant investment on developers north of here. In my opinion, what we're doing here is just increasing the value of this tract of land that there's not any plans to do anything. So I mean, I'm not here to say I don't think we ought to do this, and I think that's a bad idea. I just think we've done a little backwards here.
There are other streets that we can do.
Well, my concern is if we've done the engineering for this road and our master plan supports the construction of the road, we've got a bid. I mean, what if we wait a year and a half and it goes up?
What if the wedding goes down?
Keep saying we got this great bid, but I mean, our bid is, even the cut down bid is substantially more than what we originally thought it was gonna be, so.
Now, is this going to help get students in and out of Sherman High School without everybody having to use Travis Street?
We have other streets we could be.
See, I would have really
This
thought.
street has some safety issues.
I mean,
to it.
I'm just asking,
We can go.
Yes.
We can cut those two.
That's right.
It's not an either or situation.
And I agree with Willie. I think more traffic, probably currently more traffic is coming from the other side now, the Pebblebrook and back that direction.
When you get the apartments finished and the single family and the duplexes finished, once again, you're gonna have big problems,
That's right.
big problems. And you're gonna have big problems during construction, because I don't know if you've driven down there recently, but when you got construction traffic, and until they get some parking lots or something poured, it's not a good situation. And there's, well, I think that, I just don't think there's much going on to the south that warrants $2.7 million project.
But do you think the route to the south could alleviate some of that pressure on that upper end?
Not people going to their house, you can't see it on there, but, the Grove is, another half mile up there.
Wayne, in your engineering analysis of this road, what is pushing this? What brought this particular road to the forefront? Is it just the Sherman ISD participation and it was planned that way from the start, or?
Well, my understanding, there is a development agreement for this road, but, like I said, it will provide relief and ease for some of the traffic to get to the high school to and from.
And when we started this conversation, there wasn't anything going on north of the high school site. We started this and the Moore Street that's currently adjacent to the high school in West Travis. All those discussions were started 2 or 3 years ago, and engineering started on those same time. I mean, had we started, honestly, the reason the Grove is there is because this is there now, right? I mean, the Grove wasn't on anyone's radar until the high school opened up. I mean, it was on one guy's radar, but it wasn't a plan on anyone else's radar until we and the school district invested in this whole area.
So
And
what do you have in our CIP plan for phase 2 or more, or I guess it's phase 2, going
Phase north, you mean the
the north phase, yeah, I mean, not all the way to the end, but that section,
Yeah, it's,
It's two phases.
I was trying to look at it and I couldn't find it.
yeah, let me see.
We did talk about that, I don't remember.
Yeah, we're just now engaging an engineer, this came to fruition.
It was on our CIP plan, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking up, the internet connection's a little bit slow here, but,
Well, I think it's similar to the McGee Street, you know, we were planning on doing that, the development.
We have
happened immediately.
2.2 million in the upcoming budget for phase, whatever we're calling that, Moore Street from Park to past the Grove. For construction, that's not for engineering. We're working on, we believe the engineering will be done on that in the next few months. I know we're still in 21, and then we'll start construction immediately. In fact, the city crews are going to be doing the water line here in the next few weeks. So we're actually kind of already starting construction on that right now. But 2.2 is what's in there for 2022. And then we'll be working on right-of-way acquisition and engineering on the final phase, just shortly thereafter.
If we move forward with this, is this gonna spur development in that area? Because so far, we've done a lot to spur development at this particular piece of land. I can't help but notice that nothing's developed there yet.
Yes, I mean, you get the building blocks of water, road, sewer, drainage all in place, and those are the barriers to development. And I mean, we've seen what that has done for this particular, just general southwest part of town. I mean, that's our growth corridor. That's where not everything, but that's where majority for sure of our all sorts of development is going on: retail, commercial, single family, multifamily.
Well, I mean, I know that with the growth up north, and we're not necessarily robbing Peter to pay Paul, because we want to do both. I mean, is it concerned spending money now, where we could be spending it somewhere else? Because I don't know off the back of anyone's hand if we have another project that's shovel ready and lined up like this.
Oh, I mean, and like I said, I'm not willing to fall on the sword for this one. I just feel like we've got it backwards, and we've always kind of had this philosophy of we'll kind of do our part when the developers are doing their part. It's kind of a little give and take, and we talked about doing the McGee Street project. The developer delayed, we delayed our actions. They're now moving dirt, and now we're gonna do McGee Street. I think this is a great example of I think we're gonna have an issue north, and we're too far down the road, and the timing is so that you have to do engineering and then the bidding process and all those things. It's gonna be a while, even if we don't do this one, it's gonna be a while before we can do 4th Street. My point was just, I think we're doing it backwards.
Now,
This road is gonna have to be installed.
yeah, no, I agree with you, that I think it is doing backwards. But I think we're so far down the road now, that we've already paid for engineering, and if there's another shovel-ready project sitting in the wings waiting to go that doesn't have funding, that, but it sounds like even if we wanted to spend this money somewhere else, there's nowhere else to put it.
I'll say toward the backward side of it, if you've not been out there during school time, when school gets in and around, and the stacking effect from all the students coming and going at the same time, when we get ready to build that north section, if we don't have the south section there, I mean, right now you can go north, but it's gonna be significantly constrained to build that north section. You don't have the south section to help relieve some of that. I also think that the kids will go south more prevalently if that section was built, rather than going over to next to the highway and down the access road. I think the normal path will be to go, if you decided to build that, I think more people are gonna go that way than the other directions.
I think they'll go that way just because there's less traffic.
It's faster, it's gonna be faster, there's gonna be nothing
No
in between
stoplights.
Dale, and they're gonna go to 1470 and they're going 60 miles an hour as opposed to being on a road that's 40 miles an hour.
That's my concern. Speed and how much traffic is gonna be going out that way already.
But I've been there several times in the afternoon, and you know, there's 50, 60 cars stacking up at that intersection as they leave, so would help, I believe it would help relieve some of that stress in the afternoons, or in the mornings as well when they're coming north.
I have to imagine
It's just gonna
currently-
give another way for everybody to get there.
I have to imagine not as many people are using the Travis Street towards the 75 since the bridge isn't open yet.
Yeah.
You know,
That was the direction that everybody was going when
Was it really?
that I've seen.
Yeah.
I would say probably 70% were going that direction to the highway. That's why I think that this would significantly offset some of that.
What's the master development agreement say? Do we have timelines on that particular property? Does anybody know offhand?
I mean,
I
are
don't
they
know.
waiting for this road to get done before anything happens? Is this
Yeah, that's kind of.
is this the limiting factor for developing this very important corner that we spent a lot of money in this area in the ISD two? Is this the limiting factor for developing this corner?
I wouldn't say it is the limiting factor. Transportation and water and sewer and drain, that's always going to be a factor in when something develops. So,
Since we seem to be way down this road, looks to me like we're at a junction that either we don't do anything or we go ahead with this, you know, and then that's basically our decision. We go ahead and hope that it'll alleviate the traffic, you know, as opposed to wait months or a year or better for going north.
I mean, I agree. We've
Not
already
knowing-
paid for the engineering.
Yeah,
So,
waiting
not-
on the engineering.
But Josh made a good point. Are there other projects that are shovel ready? Do we have any waiting? Nothing.
no.
Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion to.
Second.
Have a motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right,
Did both of those in that one?
just one.
No, that was
Just
just,
one, I was gonna put them together, and this is a different deal. It's an agreement with Encore Delivery, so I wanted to keep them separate. What did we read 18 for?
Resolution 6747, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of discretionary service agreement with Encore Electric Delivery Company LLC for the relocation of overhead electric supply along Moore Street at West Travis Street in the City of Sherman. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and sent to the public as required by law.
Okay, Wayne touched on this. Do we need more explanation, council? Y'all want to
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Who would make the motion?
Motion second.
Motion second.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I thought I'd ask, council. Okay, we have down to item F1, change order number 2, labor for a drainage improvements project, New Vessels Construction LLC, $87,993.52 increase. Wayne, tell us about our change order.
Yeah, so there's a sewer line in Lambert between Travis, that runs east to the creek, that our public works crews have been diligently cleaning, sometimes up to twice a day, to make sure that it's flowing and not backing up. At that point, you know, they came to us and engineering asked if we could get a contractor out there to replace that line on an emergency basis. So it just seemed natural to put it in as a change order to the Lambert drainage project, since Vessels was gonna have to relocate some of the sewer line just at the creek line only. So Vessels is out replacing that portion associated with the drainage project as well as this portion that comes all the way up to Travis. Staff did give him permission to start replacing this line on an emergency basis. So, if you hadn't already seen, the street's been closed for over a week, and today the intersection's closed. So that manhole is right back in the intersection. And Public Works asked engineering to hire a contractor because it is a really deep line, especially when you get up to Travis. And, of course, all heavy traffic and scope of work involved.
So Wayne, I got a question for you. The change orders from a project that was dated in 2019, how long has that project been complete?
It hasn't gotten started
Okay.
yet because we had,
I wasn't certain if this had to do with the other project that we had on hand within that area. Okay, fair enough.
It's related in that it's in close proximity, but it's been 2 years to get the utilities moved.
Okay, so we signed the contract, we've just been holding in a hold pattern.
We've been in a hold pattern on the one that was awarded
Yep.
in 2019.
Okay,
and the utilities have had some delays in getting moved because one track there in the middle was, the city had to go in and acquire rights. Utilities are out there, planning on moving pretty shortly.
We're not putting a lot of our sewer and water lines under our new streets. We're trying to avoid putting our brand new streets on top of our.
Well,
brand new water.
oftentimes the sewer lines are deep. A lot of them in the new subdivisions are going under the street, but I've asked, those not to be designed under the middle of the street, but just one half of the street, so we'll replace the line and keep half the road. Future water lines, we're trying to keep behind the curb.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And just motion.
All right. F2, change order number 3, West Travis Street, Phase 2 and 3 project, Lynn Vessels Construction LLC, $97,997.61. Wayne, tell us about this one.
Yes, sir. So, just some background on West Travis Street phases 2 and 3. It was originally estimated when that went out for bids to be a $7.8 million project. It came in, Lynn Vessels came in as a low bid at $4.8 million on that project. Saving the city about $3 million. Since then, we've had 2 other change orders. One was driven by gas company ultimately that required some retaining walls to be installed on their easement, and the city also decided to go in with sod instead of seed, to get the site stabilized when it was all done. Change order number 2, we had a steeplechase drive to this contract because the pricing was so good for the street work. And this change order is just to reconcile the final as-built numbers related to West Travis 2 and 3. So, I mean, even all said and done, this change order ultimately adds 1.8%, this $5.5 million project, and is still 29% under the original estimate for West Travis 2 and 3, and we got a whole other street extension out of it.
Any other questions, guys?
they just poured more concrete than they were expecting to pour on this particular phase.
Yes. Yeah. The bid proposal numbers were a little lower than they should be.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, do we have any media questions this evening? Okay. Council comments. Let's start with Josh, last slide.
street, and I'm serious, the
Well, I
new
didn't
street, we're
think
talking
so.
about redoing streets, and it gets to be one, my goodness. I feel bad that I've never traveled, or haven't traveled down Hickory in a while, bless their hearts.
Well, I might recommend that we change the path of the workaround from
Yes.
Lambert off of Hickory. 'Cause
Amen, go down
Bad.
Shannon.
Hickory's in
yeah.
pretty bad shape.
It's horrible.
Yep.
Dangerous is my word for it, because those are not just bumps in the road, those are ditches. So, I'll stop there, go on.
I have no comment.
I was able to read a proclamation today, Saturday for Juneteenth festivities that went on at Pecan, Grove. And, it was really receptive and really, really nice. I didn't get to stay the whole time, because I had a lot of other things going on, but it was really nice. And I think they had some festivities going on over at East Street that went as well, so it's really nice, so we were accepted in the moment.
I just make a comment that, I know a lot of you were praying for, Charles Brown, senior, over the last several weeks. He was in the hospital, and, he seems to be fully recovering, back to being his normal, jokester self. So, anyways, I know his family appreciates all your prayers.
It's good to hear. I have no comment.
Okay, so a few announcements. Friends of the Sherman Public Library will be hosting a book sale Saturday, July 10th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the East Street location. And members of the Friends can shop early on July 9th, starting at 5 p.m. Contact the library for more information. It's hard to believe we're nearly halfway through Hot Summer Nights. We still have 6 great shows coming up. This week, Dina Carter's going to be in town with Jim Phillips opening, so y'all can see her. And next week, we'll be moving out to Pecan Grove for an awesome evening with Rick Springfield. So I hope to see everyone out in the park enjoying some summer music. And then also, probably the mayor next month will be held at the Sherman Museum. We'll get to hear about the exciting things coming up in the summer. 8 a.m. July 2nd. So with that, the city council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, section 551.071, to receive legal advice regarding wastewater treatment agreement November 2nd, 2009, and section 551.077 to deliberate the appointments to Red River Groundwater Conservation. So at 5:44, we'll dismiss into executive session. Thank you.